Three, bullseye!
NBC makes history in Charlotte.
One time they don't take it. Oh, he didn't.
Yes, in March Madness.
Fade away.
Take a three.
The entire time came off that 1-5 high screen and roll.
He'll launch it and he'll get it.
Or West Virginia just disappeared past the
Oh, yes, the madness is in full swing. The Sweet 16 is here. And yes, we did have a walkover. Oregon, in their first game, walked over VCU. But let's knock on wood. Well, my head's wood. So let's knock on wood. And yes, let's not have any more interruptions in this great tournament so far. The most upsets in the first weekend, the most double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16. It's just been crazy. And who better to break it all down than the greatest pipe and drape man I've ever known. Now, listen, I said when we were getting ready for the show, are you wearing a Michigan shirt?
No.
You're like, why would I ever do that? You tell me from the lower third down, that doesn't look like a Michigan shirt. You tell me that right now.
No, we
I know it's a stupid late show. But if you want to talk about shirts, this is the Great Lawn Lunch, by the way. I'm Dan Leach. Welcome into the Task Force Special Edition Sweet 16. Now, everyone knows I'm a Michigan fan, so of course I'm rooting for Michigan. I'll be there on Sunday. I was there on Monday. Can't wait. But if there's another team to pick up, why not these guys? Yeah. I love Oral. I love Oral. It just came today. I just got it in the mailbox. I think it's one of my finest purchases ever.
It's pretty good. I like it.
I love Oral. So, of course, it's going to be very tough for our friends from the famed Oral Roberts University to get the job done, as they've got a very, very tough game against an Arkansas team that is just they could win the championship. I mean, I think you look at this Sweet 16 lot, I think 8 of these teams can win it all. I mean, yes, do all 16 teams have a chance? Of course they do, but, Oral Roberts has a 0.2% chance. I think Arkansas has got a real chance. I think half these teams really could make a move in this crazy COVID year, but we're going to kind of look at all these different games and break them down for you, take all your questions. We do have a little NBA trade deadline stuff to get to. Lauren's very excited. There's Lakers did nothing, but we'll get to that at the end of the show. But if you want to stay connected, please do it via the live chat. We got questions and comments that we can throw up on the screen. Thank you, Danny Martin. You've got a great name, so you're the man as well. And so is the Luncers. Lauren, let's get right into it, and we'll start with this before we get into the actual matchups. I just want your reaction to what we've seen in, thank God, a year where we're having the tournament. It's been a couple years. But insane amount of upsets. Illinois, I mean, disgusting loss. Oklahoma State, it was a very trendy pick that they were going to go down earlier than a lot of people thought they would. I didn't have them going that far. They have, Cade Cunningham. They got some other players, but Cunningham's really their guy. And they're not a great team in clutch situations. And that's obviously why they end up losing to Oregon State, who I don't know how Oregon State's doing this as a 12 seed, but what are your instant reactions to what we saw? Actually, we can go all the way back if you want to your Spartans being silly in the first four, but what are your reactions all the way through? By the way, great Dan Marino jersey. Great Dan Marino jersey.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, big day for the Dolphins, trading picks all over the place. But as far as the tournament's concerned, I'm just grateful, honestly, that we're able to have March Madness in March. There's games going on. It was exciting. I liked the Friday through Monday. It was nice just to be able to turn the TV on and see all the games. It's also been quite a Cinderella run for a lot of teams. So it's exciting because that is really the essence of basketball. It's all about matchups. And a lot of times you got to a conference like the Big Ten, you're banging each other all season long and you learn each other's offenses, but you're not studying the Loyolas. You're not studying the Oral Roberts.
You should be.
They can sneak in a victory. And that's what's so great about this tournament is that, every once in a while even you're going to have some bracket busters, and it's been great so far.
I want to say something. I look great as I always do. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl 40 chair. You got the Barry Sanders jersey. We got the world famous space coat right there. My American flag and my Barry. Remember when Garth Brooks said, go Barry, and wore a Barry jersey at his concert, and people thought it was Barry, or Bernie Sanders, or he said Sanders. They thought it was for Bernie Sanders. Everyone freaked out. But I gotta say, your setup, normally you have your pipe and drape. You look great. I mean, you got the dimensions down. You got the nice paint on the wall. What do we see there? What is that? I can't see the poster. A Night to Remember. Is that the world?
Back there, you see that's Mr. Zamaya. That's 06. That's
yeah.
That
is pretty impressive stuff. So I'm very impressed with your setup there. All right, let's get into it. We're going to start in the Midwest here. I'm going to throw the bracket up for you, and we'll talk about the odds-on favorite. And we know they've never won a title before, and this is the first chance a team has had. I think legitimately. I mean, there's been other teams that have gone into the tournament undefeated, but I think the way Gonzaga's looked, the fact they could be the first team in 44 years to go undefeated and win this whole thing. They play a Creighton team that I thought and probably should have lost to UCSB. If UCSB, I'm forgetting their big man's name, he missed the lay-in by like an inch, and they would have lost that game. I actually bet that game late plus 400, and really was bad. But then they beat an Ohio team that I thought was going to be, Creighton. Ohio I thought was going to be one of the darlings like Oral Roberts in the Sweet 16. But you look at Gonzaga, it's a terrible matchup for Creighton Lawton. This is, as we mentioned, the first game out of the Western region. I wonder what your thoughts are on this Gonzaga-Creighton matchup. I don't really see much of a chance for Creighton in this one. And if people are wondering, for those having fun with the live legal betting apps in Michigan, if you're watching the show here, Gonzaga's up to a 13-point favorite against the Blue Jays.
So my thoughts on Gonzaga are real simple. Believe the hype. Do not believe the narrative that they play in this weak conference and they don't play anybody. After watching that Norfolk State game, they reminded me of one team in history, and that was the Runnin' Rebs, 1990. Relentless.
Yeah, you said that.
Up and down the court. It was impressive. But then at that point, I said, you know what? I got to see more. And they never let Oklahoma even get in that game. If they got to an arm's length, they held them out. So believe the hype. This Gonzaga team is really good. And listen, I don't think Creighton stands a chance. Gonzaga, big favorite. I think they're a 13-point favorite, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. When I was watching, so I always track the odds, like the live lines. I just think it's fascinating. There's times where you want to, bang a point spread in the middle of a game or a money line. And when it was like towards the end stages of the first half, Gonzaga's live line was 18.5 against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a good team. I mean, they're not great. They're an 8 seed. They're, a top 30 type team. They were an 18.5-point first half favorite. That is ridiculous. I know they opened, they were 14 before the game started, but they're the Globetrotters, and all these other teams are the Washington Generals. They're making teams look, silly. And listen, all due respect to Creighton, they're a solid team. They play good defense. They can score the ball, but I don't know if they're going to lose by 30, but they're not going to lose. They're not going to be in this game for very long. I think Gonzaga is not going to have that kind of biting bad upset they've had in many years in the past where they haven't gotten to the Elite Eight or haven't gotten to the Final Four. This Gonzaga team should roll against, we both agree, in Creighton against in this one. Now, this is the real interesting matchup. And, Lawton, I do want to throw this up for a second here because we're both going to be happy about this. We did a tournament show before the tournament started, and we gave our bracket busters. Yours were LSU and USC. You were right about one of them. Mine were Oregon, UConn, and Oklahoma State. I was definitely wrong about 2 of them. But we both were on. We talked about the Pac-12. We talked about the chances that a team like Oregon or USC with the Mobley brothers would be able, to do throughout this tournament. You take a look at these 2 teams. I think both these teams can win the championship. I'm not saying they're going to, but I've been on Oregon for a couple months, and I've really started to get on USC like you were as we talked about it before the tournament started. This is a 6-7 game. It feels like a 2-3 game. And I cannot wait to see what we have in store for this Sweet 16 matchup because it could go either way. I'll go first here. I really want to pick Oregon because they're the team that I mentioned going back a couple of months on various shows that I've done, including our pre-NCAA tournament show, that they could go to the Final Four. They're that good for Dana Altman. And they're, whether it's Duarte or their pressure defense, and they barely turn the ball over, they could shoot it well from three. But you look at what USC did to Kansas, and Kansas, I know, wasn't a usual 3-seeded Kansas team. And then Drake, who played so well at the end against in the first four, they just look so good with the Mobley brothers. And they're a team that obviously can force turnovers. I got to pick USC in this game. I mean, it's really close. I think it's going to be a down-to-the-wire type of game. Right now, you got USC as a 2-point favorite over Oregon. This game, by the way, is being played at Bankers. I'll be there on Sunday. The Michigan game is at 5. That game is after. The Gonzaga game, people are wondering, is being played at Hinkle, the home of the Butler Bulldogs. This is a really tough game. I want both teams to win. But just after what I saw USC do, and I know it's not like a regular Kansas team, but they're still good. Right. And they made them look silly. That was my play of the day on that second round day on Monday. I really think USC is going to win this game. But I think whoever wins this game could definitely go to the Final Four and possibly go on a crazy run and win it all.
So I picked USC originally because they were a bracket buster, right? They were going to beat Kansas. I had confidence there. And albeit Kansas had COVID issues, they were cycling guys in and out. And Bill Self did the best that he could. But it's ironic because I actually like Oregon in this game. And to be honest, I'm excited. This is the game I'm most excited for this weekend. Oregon, USC, I think it's going to be run and gun. It's going to be like 1980s NBA all over again, up and down the court. I'm excited. This is a big Pac-12 matchup. I like it to be close, but I like the Ducks.
All right, you're quacking with the Ducks. Let's go over to the South here. The South region, that's Baylor's region. And, Baylor, another team that a lot of people are on that believe they can, win it all. They're obviously a 1 seed for a reason. And, you look at this matchup with Villanova. See, I thought Nova was going down to Winthrop. I thought Villanova was going to go down, and then obviously Winthrop was going to beat either Purdue or Texas. Villanova loses their best player in Connor Gillespie. Mm-hmm. They had a big COVID pause earlier in the year for, I think it was over 3 weeks. And they looked like the Villanova team that people thought was a top 15 team, top 10 team earlier in the season in their wins over Winthrop and their disgusting lambasting of North Texas, who I actually picked to win that game. I picked them over Purdue, but I also picked them over Villanova. Or over in that's whoever played in that game. And I obviously was wrong there. I think Baylor is primed to be able to do what everyone thought they could do, which is get to the Final Four and have a chance to win it all. But boy, this is a very interesting matchup, Lawton, with Nova, who's playing so well right now. Baylor, a 7.5-point favorite in this one. How do you see it?
Listen, credit to Jay Wright. He always has his teams ready, right? So Gillespie going down, I didn't think they'd get out of the first round. I feel like they should get a huge pat on the back for even making it to the Sweet 16. But I don't see it. I like Baylor huge in this game. I know they're about an 8-point favorite. Jared Butler, just going to be too much for him. But a valiant effort with Villanova losing their best player, arguably right before the tournament with that MCL sprain. So, hey, I like Baylor in this one.
All right, and for me, listen, I don't know if it's going to be as easy as you're making it sound. The 7.5 is it's kind of right where the spread should be. I think Villanova can actually hang in this game, but Baylor's going to win it in the end, and they will advance to the Elite Eight. That game, by the way, we have 3 sites that people don't know in the Sweet 16 as opposed to 6 in the first round. This game is at Hinkle as well tomorrow. And then, of course, the second game in the South region is those Hogs and my I Love Oral Roberts Whizzes. All I got to tell you right now is that Oral Roberts is not a 15 seed. Obviously, we always have great stories, Lawton. It happens all the time. They are the way they've played and they've had success, in their conference the last couple of years. They've been to the tournament in recent years. This is not a 15. This isn't your brother's and father's 15 seed. They're playing like a 10, playing like like Loyola did a couple years ago when they went to the Final Four. They're not as good as that team, of course. But you look at Arkansas, by the way, the Razorbacks are down to an 11.5-point favorite. At one point, they were over 12. But I look at this game as Oral Roberts having a chance. But Arkansas is just too tough. They're just too good. They're too athletic. They can score a ton of points. They really, it's kind of like almost like the way Oral Roberts plays the way that Nolan Richardson used to have his Hogs team play, like 40 minutes of hell. But the Razorbacks do a similar thing. It's just a little more up-tempo than back in the Nolan Richardson days. The spread itself, I wouldn't touch this game. I think there is value on Oral Roberts hanging in and covering, but I think there's just no way they could beat an Arkansas team that has looked so good with what they did against Colgate, a team that I thought would have a chance to upset them in the first round. And then Texas Tech, they just made them look silly. So I look at this game against Oral Roberts as a Arkansas victory, but I think Oral Roberts could definitely hang in and maybe cover the 11.5.
Yeah, huge game for Justin Smith, with 20 points. Played out of his mind defensively against a Texas Tech team that we both thought had a chance to make it to the Final Four. Then you throw in Moses Moody, it's over. I'm telling you, I think I like Arkansas in this game. Oral Roberts, again, another Cinderella bracket-busting type team. I just think once they got to the Sweet 16, that's as far as they're going to go. But again, huge pat on the back, valiant effort for the Oral Roberts Nation. And look, they'll be back. These teams are not going away anymore. These Oral Roberts and the Loyolas, they're here to stay. But Arkansas big in this game.
Golden Eagles. Yeah, they're going to cover maybe, but they're not going to win this game. All right, let's go over to the Midwest region, and these games are going to be. I think they're played. We're doing the Loyolas. This is games on Saturday. Saturday at 2:40 and 9:55. We'll start with a matchup that I think that no one had. I mean, maybe some had Loyola Chicago, but if you got a bracket that's got Loyola and the Beavers, then I'll find a way to give you like a bucket of ice cream. I mean, Loyola's an 8 seed. They're playing like a 3. This team statistically is better than their team under Porter Moser from a few years ago that went to the Final Four. So this Loyola team is not an 8 seed. Oregon State has been probably one of the 2 or 3 hottest teams in college hoops over the last 3 weeks and was able to win their conference tournament. They made Tennessee look silly. Then they made Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham look silly. Lawton, you look at this game right now, it's Loyola -7 as far as the points go. I think there is, for the betting purposes, I think there's a little value on Oregon State hanging in this game and covering the 7. But Loyola is the best team in the country defensively. They're so well coached by Porter Moser. I mentioned all the metric numbers, excuse me, that this team is better than their Final Four team. I just cannot. I know Oregon State's on this, pink cloud, and they're shooting from downtown. They're playing good defense. I cannot see them beating. I think Loyola is going to hold this game or hold Oregon State to a much lower, point total than they're used to. I mean, you look at what they did in the last couple of rounds. They scored 70 against Tennessee. They scored 80 against Oklahoma State. I think they're going to hold them in the 60s. And it's going to be way too tough for Oregon State to win this one. So I'll pick first here. I'm going to go Loyola advancing to yet another Elite 8. I don't think Oregon State can do it.
Believe in Sister Jean and believe in their assistant coach, former Golden Grizzly Drew Valentine. They're making noise. Look, Vegas believes. That's why they're a 7-point favorite. I agree with you. I think the Beavers cool off this weekend and Loyola gets them. But I do agree with you in the respect that there is a chance for them to cover. It could be a close game, but I like Loyola to go to the Elite 8.
All right, and the other game in that region is my Houston Cougars against. Now, listen, I'll admit it. I was wrong. I did not think this was a good Syracuse team. I watched them play several times this year. We know the zone can screw you up in a one-and-done situation in the tournament. I thought Syracuse was going down to San Diego State, and Brian Dutcher, the former Steve Fisher assistant, who's on the head coach. I thought they were going to lose to West Virginia when they got through the first round. I was wrong. They are just a really sound, very well coached by Jim Boeheim type of team that – and his kids, Buddy Boeheim shooting the lights out. But this is a totally different Houston team that had their scare. Now, Houston is definitely the kind of team that some would say might be overrated as a 2, but they're good enough to be a 2 or be a 1. They almost could have been a 1 seed if they'd won a few more games. They're that good. They're that dynamic. And they had their scary game. They probably should have lost to a very game Rutgers team. They did it. They came back. They won that game. And I think that Houston has got a great chance to go to the Final Four. So I'm looking at this, Lawton, and I think Houston, for people to know, if they're wondering what Vegas thinks, they're a 6.5-point favorite. The total in that game, by the way, is 140.5. Syracuse has actually been scoring a lot more points than they have in previous tournament years. I just think Houston in the end will be too tough. They can shoot that out of that zone. And I think Houston takes down Buddy Boeheim and the Boeheim grandkids, and grandfather against Syracuse.
Again, another team that I believe has really maximized their value so far in the tournament. I think that comes to an end this weekend. Quentin Grimes, Houston, way too much for Syracuse. And like you said, they play well against the zone. So if they do that, I don't even think it's going to be close.
Danny Martin brings up a really good point. I actually wanted to mention this, so I appreciate this comment from him. He talked about the seeding being misplaced with a lot of teams. That's such a true thing in many years, but especially this year because imbalanced schedule, people had different teams and programs had tons of COVID pauses. I think that you looked at a lot of these games, the Oral Roberts type teams. Loyola should have been probably a 5 seed. But, we know how it works with the tournament selection committee. Oral Roberts isn't a 15 seed. So I think a lot of these lower level teams, even in Oregon State, were underseeded. And I think some of these teams, like Oklahoma State might have been overseeded. And it's all about matchups. And in one and done situations, you had Illinois that had a terrible second round matchup. They matched up terribly with Loyola, who was playing like a 3 or a 4 seed. And you look at what Oral Roberts was able to do against Ohio State. That was a terrible matchup for Ohio State. Now, Ohio State should be able to be the 15 seed. Once again, I don't think Oral Roberts is a 15 seed, maybe a 13. Right. But they got to put these teams, Oral Roberts can't be that much lower of a seed. So that is a very, very good point by Danny Martin, where I think that you look at it right now, and I'll tell you, Lawton, a lot of these teams definitely were completely underseeded, and that's why you're seeing the most upsets ever. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're in an imbalanced schedule year. Teams put on COVID pauses. I think Colgate played 3 teams all year. They played them over and over again. They didn't play more than a game or so for the last month, something like that. And so it's crazy to see how different things in a weird year kind of are not congruent to each other. So it's a very fair point. Survive
and advance. That's the key here. And some teams are just doing it better. And like you said, I agree with Danny. It's a weird year, with the seeding and whatnot. Even taking the Michigan State Spartans in, for example, in a regular year with that record, do they even get in? I don't think so. No, so I think so. There are a lot of compensating factors taken into the seeding process, and and here we are. But it's made it a lot of fun so far.
By the way, credit to you. I'm still on my health kick, obviously, trying to lose some more weight and be healthy. Lawton is my Rib Fest Cup. Rib Fest Cup. Lawton has helped me. I got a Ninja. I'm doing fruit smoothies with protein powder, meal replacements, losing some weight. So thank you, Lawton. We'll get to my favorite region because it has the Michigan Wolverines, the East, in just one moment. But first, a message from our friends at Screwball.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. A refreshingly unique taste on the world's most classic spirit. It goes down smooth with a perfectly blended finish. Anything but ordinary, and always lives up to the name. Sure, it sips a little different, and that's just who we are. Peanut butter. Screwball Whiskey, the original peanut butter whiskey.
All right, are you ready for the East region? Are you ready for Michigan? And there's still a small chance Isaiah Livers and Onions could pull the Willis Reed. They're playing a very solid and well coached by Leonard Hamilton Florida State team. This is a classic 1-4 type matchup where, of course, the seed stayed true to form. Florida State deep, Michigan deep. You look at what they were able to do, the Wolverines against LSU. They were down in that game. Cam Thomas, the dynamic LSU freshman. LSU was shooting the lights out. Michigan found their way back. Huge game. I mean, you look at Franz Wagner and Hunter Dickinson, who in the end were the heroes. But I think the reason Michigan won was Eli Brooks and his big shots from downtown, and Shawnee Brown, who made some huge shots and big free throws. Lawton, you look at this game, Michigan a 2.5 to 3 point favorite. This is a 5 o'clock game at Baker's Life on Sunday. I'll let you pick first here. This is going to be an all-out war between these two teams.
Well, look, you have a puncher's chance in every one of these games, right? And I felt like LSU was probably the team that would be most likely to beat Michigan if that were to happen early, and it didn't. They got out on to a really early start, fast and furious, and Michigan was able to kind of claw their way back. They made a commitment defensively to cover Hunter Dickinson in the paint, leaving Brooks open for threes. I think there was 5 of them that he made at least when they went down to double Dickinson. Then, of course, Shawnee Brown. I mean, that was huge off the bench for you guys. He had a career game. And you know what? These are the types of players that you need. These are the games they need in the tournament to make it really a true team effort. So I'll be honest. I like Michigan in this game. I like them to cover the 3. I think it's a no-brainer. They're going to the Elite 8.
Look at the Lawton Lutz sizzling Sexters. You're always fair. Like I am with Michigan State too. You don't just pick against Michigan because you're a Spartan fan. I think you made a lot of good points there. And you look at the Wolverines. Obviously missing Livers really hurts, but they're super deep. Juwan Howard. I was so enamored because I hadn't been to a live Michigan game in over a year, and I'm watching Juwan Howard on the bench. And this is with all due respect, to LSU's coach. He was so engaged the entire game. He was up. He was talking to his guys. Obviously, it's not as noisy with less fans, so you can hear a lot of the stuff. I'm just so impressed with Juwan Howard. So if there's ever a guy and a team that can lose a player like Livers, but has this great coach and this great synergy with the players and the coach, and even Livers on the sidelines rooting his guys in, like Juwan Howard, this is the kind of team that can do that. I mentioned Shawnee Brown and Brooks and how big, and obviously Mike Smith, another guy we haven't mentioned yet, that could be a factor. But Dickinson, struggled early, but then had a double-double. One of the quieter double-doubles you'll see. You got to go to him early and often. You've got to be able to shoot the three well. Michigan plays great defense. That keeps them in every game. They're never out of a game. Florida State, deep as well. I just think in the end, there's too many athletes on the Wolverines. I think this is going to be a nip-and-tuck game like the LSU game was until the end. I think Michigan will pull away with about 5 or 6 minutes left and get themselves in to the Elite Eight, Lawton. I have a lot of respect for Florida State. There's a lot of talent on that team, but I just think that Michigan, the way that they got through that kind of mini scare against LSU, I mentioned earlier against, when you look at a team like Houston, when you do that sometimes, you can really lift off. And remember, the Wolverines had to learn on the fly how to play without the heart and soul of their team. And to do that for a couple games, Lawton, and then get to the Sweet 16 against a quality opponent, I think you might see, obviously they're not going to be as good without Livers, but you might see that vintage Michigan team we've seen for a lot of the season.
Well, listen, Juwan Howard, I think the most impressive thing coming out of that game was sometimes you get hit and you're not ready. And LSU hit Juwan and his kids quick early with just running up and down the floor and hitting shots and whatnot. And you saw Juwan in the beginning got a little flustered, mixing up looks for the LSU offense, going to 3-2, going to a 2-3 zone, showing some man-to-man. Once they figured that out at half, Michigan typically has those early second half runs. Once they closed the gap and took the lead before halftime, I just felt like LSU had an uphill battle at that point. So
I remember watching the Wolverines had like 5 different chances to either tie or take the lead, and they finally got it.
Right.
I kept telling you.
Sometimes you get hit early, you're not ready, and then you battle through it, and that's what they did. And look, they had a little luck on their side. Chandri Brown coming up, having a career game. Again, those are the types of things you need. You need a little luck in every tournament, right? It doesn't matter if you're the best team or considerably the best team coming in. You need a little bit of that, and Brown was able to deliver for them against LSU.
Yeah, I kept saying if they could just tie or take the lead, I think they might not relinquish it again. And they did for a minute, but that was a lot of times it's a mental type thing. And Danny Martin brought up about Phil Martelli. I mentioned this many times, Lawton, on shows that we've done. When Juwan Howard hired Phil Martelli, the longtime St. Joe's coach, as his first hire, I knew he knew what he was doing because Juwan needed to learn on the fly as well as a head coach. Martelli could be the silent, as Danny puts it, the silent wizard to show the way. But went to the tournament for decades with St. Joseph's. So that's going to be something to watch. He's obviously really helped Juwan Howard throughout this year. All right, let's take a look at the last game of this Sweet 16 and the East region. You can take the Spartans because it started with them, Lawton. How about UCLA and Hawkeyes and all the high-flying Bruins against number 2 Alabama? The Crimson Tide at 6.5-point favorite. This is probably the best basketball team Alabama maybe has ever had. Remember, football school. Now Michigan's a basketball school. I'll go first here. I love UCLA. They are just what Mick Cronin has done has been incredible because the Pac-12 obviously was a lot better of a conference than we thought it was. And you could see towards the end of the year with teams like Oregon and USC and UCLA, there was a lot of talent there. This has been a great run by them. You hold your heads high. Bama's way too much. They got way too much athleticism. They got way too much, speed and defensive ability. In the end, I think Bama's going to kind of run away from this UCLA team. I think UCLA from downtown can keep themselves kind of in contact. You saw that obviously in their win over Michigan State and in the dominating win against Abilene Christian. And in the first round game, of course, against BYU as well, that I really thought BYU was going to win. So you look at this game, and I just think that Bama's going to be too much in the end. I think, before we stop our NCAA bracket talk, we're going to give our previous thought on who was going to win it all and our current thought, if that's a change, Bama's right there for me. I don't want to give anything away yet, but I think Bama can win it all. So I'm going to take Bama in this game, and I think they actually do cover the 6.5 too.
So, yeah, this is the toughest game for me to pick because the combo of Juzang and Jaquez have been just incredible. And every round I go, UCLA, they're going to lose this round. And now they've proven me wrong every time up until this point. Vegas has got this with, 6.5 point spread. I think it's going to be close. I like UCLA to cover and Alabama to win. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't think Alabama's going to blow them out. UCLA, like you said, Mick Cronin has done a really good job defensively, really getting his kids ready. And, I think this is going to be another one. I would say if the USC-Oregon game is my most excited game, this is my second game that I'm going to be keeping my eye on to see what happens. Because, listen, if UCLA makes it to the Elite Eight, it's truly anybody can make it because they were, like I said, this is a play-in team.
Stop calling it a play-in game. It's an opening round game. Thank you very much. Me and 50 always argue about that. It's a 68-team field. It's not a play-in game. But you are playing yourself into the main field. All right, so let's go back, if we can, to our original picks. In my official bracket, I had Gonzaga winning it all, which is obviously not going on a ledge. I wish I would have taken Michigan. And who do you have in your official bracket winning it all?
Illinois. So they're out.
So I'll start with you. Obviously, you have to change now. Who is your current national champion? After
the
first round, Gonzaga.
Yeah, I don't see anybody beating them.
Okay, how about this?
I don't see anybody challenging them.
Let's do this.
But I'm all in on Oregon too, because then I can win your bracket.
Yes. Well, if Alabama wins, I can win my bracket too. Let's do it like this. We both have Gonzaga. I'm not going to switch my Gonzaga pick either. They are clearly the best team in the country, but they've never won a title before. That's something to talk about. If you were going to take another team, I'll start with this. If you take another team, who is it? I'm going to go with Alabama. I wish I could take Michigan. I don't know if Michigan can win it without Isaiah Livers. I feel much more comfortable with a full Alabama team. So if Gonzaga doesn't win it, I'm going to say Alabama does. And by the way, I do have a futures bet on them at 20-1, so that would help me buy you some vegan food.
I'm gonna go with the Ducks. I'm gonna go with them.
Quack. That's a team that I've been talking about for months.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Ducks. I like what I'm seeing from them. Again, I know moral victories aren't always the greatest thing, but if Michigan makes it to the Final Four without Isaiah Livers, that's a hell of a job done by Juwan Howard.
Coach of the year.
Yeah, coach of the year, no question. Now, do I think they can they give Gonzaga a run for their money if they get there? Yeah, but Gonzaga's just too. I mean, you gotta go win the game knowing you better score 90 points if you're going to compete with Gonzaga. Hoping that they have a bad game, I'm going to pick, instead of Gonzaga, I'll pick Oregon, but I like whoever's winning that national championship to come out of that same division, same bracket.
All right. I love it. Before we get into a little NBA trade deadline winners and losers talk, another word from our good friends at Screwball.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. A refreshingly unique taste on the world's most classic spirit. Anything but ordinary, and always lives up to the name. Screwball Whiskey. The original peanut butter whiskey.
All right, my friend, before we get out of here, I want to give credit to the graphics master, Lawton Luntz. He made this little slide for us, and it even left a little spot for the task force to still be up there on the top right of your screen. Lawton, I'm going to let you kind of take it away here. You did a great job encapsulating the winners. You look at the Nuggets, obviously getting Gordon. Clippers with the great, sharpshooter Rajon Rondo. I know you wanted your Lakers to get J.J. Redick. But he goes to the Mavs, and the Mavs are a very dangerous team if they're healthy. By the way, before we get into anything else, the Rockets are by far the losers of the trade deadline. They suck. They basically gave away Oladipo for nothing, and the Rockets are a mess right now. And obviously, George Hill going to former IUPUI star. I was at Lawton. I was at the famous St. Elmo's Steakhouse after to celebrate the Michigan win, got the shrimp cocktail, and I actually was sitting in the bar with this nice guy that I started talking to, who was an IUPUI professor, and we talked about George Hill, and he goes to the Sixers. When you look at the trade deadline, Lawton, your instant thoughts, I think you got to look at the Nuggets as being the big winners, in my opinion. What else do you see? Yeah,
Nuggets are definitely the winner in the West. I only had to give up Gary Harris and a couple of picks. The Aaron Gordon is a great addition because he's a superstar that we don't know anything about because he was on a bad team. But I also think the Nuggets also picked up JaVale McGee. And that gives them a little bit more height, another rotational player. I think that was huge. And then, of course, Miami, getting Oladipo is huge. But watch for the buyout market because Miami obviously targeting LaMarcus Aldridge. They're going all in for the finals. Pat Riley working his magic. As a Laker guy, I really wanted to see Redick maybe come as a shooter. I know the Lakers are targeting Andre Drummond in the buyout market. That would certainly help them, especially during LeBron and AD being out with the injuries. But JJ Redick, adding him to the Dallas Mavericks squad at this time, I mean, that's big for Luka. It's not all on him. Rajon Rondo going back to the Clippers, if he's got another playoff run in him, that's going to be huge for them too. They dumped Lou Williams. Not sure if he'll be bought out by Atlanta, but he's there. And I know they keep calling him Lemon Pepper Lou, and he's going to be back at Magic City or whatever. He's back in that town, ATL.
Yeah, it was a very interesting deadline. It wasn't like, super splashy moves. I think obviously the biggest move, as we showed, was Gordon going to the Nuggets. I think all the people in the Heat, for basically nothing is great as well. I want to see where you're at with this. Preseason, I went Nets and Clippers with the Nets winning the title. I am going to stick with that. What was your preseason pick, and are you changing after the deadline?
Pretty sure my preseason pick was Bucks Lakers, but definitely
you're going with Kareem's former and past teams.
Well, look how great the Bucks looked. I mean, I know they just added PJ Tucker. That's going to be a nice addition for them. I still think the Bucks have what it takes in the East, but you've got a lot of great teams in the East. I mean, Philadelphia adding George Hill to that, that guard depth, helping out Ben Simmons. I mean, they're pretty loaded. Listen, the Nets have the best chance. The Philadelphia 76ers is a Laker guy from a matchup perspective. Sure. Me. I still like the Lakers. If LeBron and AD come back healthy, they're certainly one of the favorites. And we'll see if that chemistry can work with Rajon over there, with Kawhi, Paul George, and the rest of the gang in the other locker room.
All right, one more thing before we get going here. Brilliant job by you as always. I just wanted to throw this out there because you mentioned you got the Marino jersey. And I was just thinking about the NFL for a minute. We have this crazy, our fantasy league's got this ridiculous text thread, which I make it crazy sometimes too, because sometimes you wake up and there's 140 texts. I know a lot of people are talking about this. Deshaun Watson, all the allegations. I mean, it seems like every day there's 2-3 more that are coming out. One I know recently I saw today calling him a serial predator. Do you think this is going to cost Deshaun Watson the ability to play at some point next season, or it's not going to get swept under the rug? You can't sweep, over 20 claims now of abuse from various victims, alleged victims from Deshaun Watson. I'm not comparing him to Michael Vick, obviously. That was a different situation. But Michael Vick, and he went to prison, but he was away from the game. Do you think there's a chance that Deshaun Watson, who is definitely one of the top 5 most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL, is going to have to sit out at least some period of time and lose the ability to start? Because this is terrible. Like, obviously, it's you're innocent until proven guilty,
sure,
but it doesn't look good. I find from what I've read and seen over the last week plus, these alleged victims seem pretty credible. Yeah, there's always going to be fringe people that are maybe trying to make a buck or are just trying to screw someone over. But I don't think these alleged victims are coming out, to make money. I think that this is real. I wonder if he's going to have to sit out.
I'd be more concerned if this went to a criminal case, honestly.
Oh, I think it could. I think it definitely could. Then he's definitely going to have to sit out.
Right. At this point where it's civil, it's, again, where there's smoke, there could be fire. But I want to give Deshaun the benefit of the doubt here as well. I mean, this is extremely out of character for what we know about Deshaun Watson and his upbringing and all these things. It just doesn't seem like it's possible. But again, you've got multiple allegations where what are we, 15, 16 now that have been filed. And
I think it's over 20.
There's more to this story. And I know there's more to come. But do I think he misses time? I think if this goes criminal case, there's a chance he misses 4 to 6 games next year. Again, not a good relationship, not a good time for him in Houston either with the way the franchise now unload. How you're going to trade him now? I don't think that's going to happen. So it's just a tough situation for everyone involved.
All right, well, that's not on a good note here. Your Finns just traded, with the Eagles, got the 6th pick. Are they going to take Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida?
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be bad. We picked up Will Fuller, right? So we've got Jacoby Brissett, and that pretty much showed once you picked up Jacoby, okay, we're all in on Tua. I know that the Dolphins were getting a little slack and a little bit of There was a few comments there as they're looking at Devontae Smith at the number 3 pick. Now they could take him maybe later, or look at a guy like Jamar Chase. And if you're able to get Chase and Pitts in the first round, I mean, you're adding some weapons and giving Tua a chance. We got to remember that Tua was injured most of last year. And when he came in, I mean, he did not look like he did at Alabama at all. He looked very game manager-esque. And so I think this is a big year for him to prove to all the Dolphin Nation that he's the guy. And what are they doing? Much like I said 6 months ago, they got to put some weapons around the guy in order to give him a chance. They went all in. They took him early in the draft. So here we go. And like I said, I like how this draft is shaping up. They're making moves. They're doing a good job.
Yeah, my guys at CBS Sports.com have you taking my man Kwity Paye at 18, the defensive line for Michigan, on the Lions front, and we'll see what happens. A lot of people think the Lions now, with all these different trades, are going to take Chase, the wide receiver, Jamar Chase, from LSU, because, of course, Marvin Jones, everyone's gone. And Galladay moved on to the Giants. So we'll see what happens. A lot of fun. Well, plenty of draft shows. We got plenty of time to that. Maybe you and I will take a road trip to the draft in Cleveland. Why not? Cleveland. Well, it's Vontae Mack no matter what. Vontae Mack no matter what. Danny Martin, appreciate the love. We will keep it going. Lawton, always an honor to be with you. Any parting shots for you? What are you watching for this weekend?
Again, USC Oregon, baby. That's the game. And then of course UCLA rolling with Bama. That might be my second most. That's what I'm going to keep my third eye on. And then my only party shot is maybe we should have Danny come on the show. I mean, he made all kinds of good points today.
Danny's on top of it. He's got some great comments. For me, fine friends, I'll see you. Well, I mean, I'll hopefully see some of you in Indy on Sunday for Michigan, Florida State. I was able to go to the LSU game with my crazy light up mask. It was awesome. It was so cool to be at a game as a fan for the first time in over a year. And yeah, there was 17 or so thousand in that half dome at Lucas Oil, but it was loud. It was like 70% Michigan fans, ran into so many nice people. My Airbnb guys that are staying right by the stadium for like 8 days, I'll see them for a little pregame tailgate. They offered me, Lawton, White Claws, beer, and vodka. I said, I don't drink this. You know what? We got coffee. We got Monsters. So Great guys. Shout out to them. So if you're traveling to the game like I am, please be safe. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Get your vaccine. I got mine last Saturday. Get it done whenever you can. Go to planyourvaccine.org and all your county websites. Lawton, great job by you as always. That room is just in perfect symmetrical shape. I'm very jealous. Mine's great, but yours is better. For the great Lawton Lutz, I'm Dan Leach the Squatch. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Go Blue. Believe in the dream. Until next time, this has been the Task Force. Peace.